What a day.
Yeah.
What a day. What a day. We are waiting on a number of things. And while we wait on a number of things, I want to talk to you about cases that people have been declared innocent on 50 to 70 years later.
Wow. All right then, and you can see a jury somewhere must be deliberating because I got my Justice Watch shirt on. So what is happening in the Uvalde case? There we are.
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
justice when we see it? To be and down mill, I lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. Listener clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
And hello there, folks. Michael Bryant here. Hello, Linda Baden. How are you?
Hi, Michael Bryant. Nice to
Hey,
see you in your
Nice to see you.
What are we
Yes.
What
Well-
jury, before we get on to things, are we waiting on?
Let's see what I'm checking my watch here. I think they're at about 4.5 hours of deliberating in the
And
Adrian
that is-
Gonzales case.
And that is having to Gonzales. We know Gonzales, but what is it normally called for people that maybe just
Well, a lot of
popping?
people think it's the Uvalde case or the Robb Elementary School shooting case. This is the one officer that has been charged with 29 versions of a child endangerment or child endangering, they call it there, max 2 years per charge. I was doing a little research to see if that is ever sentenced cumulatively, instead of consecutive instead of concurrent. Not a lot on it because this is very rare. That many counts of child endangering, very bizarre. And where do they get those numbers? 29 is a total of the 19 that were killed plus 10 that were severely injured. There's your 29. And it's an identical. The verdict form is basically 29 pages long. Every single page is a count as to it relates to one of these children that was either killed or injured.
So they're out, and we can talk about the specifics in a bit. But one of the questions I'm going to have you all think about and ask you to think about, Michael Bryant, is could there be a split verdict in that with the kids who are alive, he doesn't get convicted or anything, but with the kids that are dead, he does. And what's one of the things, besides they're not guilty, obviously, because he's presumed
Right.
innocent unless and until a jury finds the state has met their burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. As we
Yeah, that's a good point. I always felt it was kind of an all or nothing just based on the way they laid out the quote liability here. But you're right. They could come to some sort of compromise on that level. And we're keeping an eye on the clock. And if they do come back into court, either to dismiss for the day, remember it's 1 hour earlier than we are here on the East Coast. So could happen anytime that they're dismissed, could happen anytime that they come back with a verdict or a question. I heard at some point that they'd asked for a witness list and a laptop, something like that. I'm not sure what to make out of that, but the jury never returned to the courtroom. They just sent out a message, and I guess they were given what they asked for. And nothing too special in giving them a witness list. The laptop, I'm assuming they would have one anyway to watch all the videos. So,
Michael, you going to say anything interesting while we're talking?
Are you unplugged?
Well, my earpiece is unplugged, which is why I'm hearing you on the screen
Oh.
in my ear.
I think your microphone might be unplugged too, or switched off, because it sounds like I'm cutting you off which happens when now you're yeah. Don't mind us. We'll be through with rehearsal anytime now. We'll get right to the show.
This is what you're seeing on live TV. That was an earpiece. That's a custom earpiece that those of us who have been doing this for a while have made. There's only
I'm
one.
amazed at the folks in the biz that don't have an IFB. That's what the molded piece is called, IFB.
It's made by one company in Wisconsin called Audio Implementation.
They're amazing, and it's not crazy expensive. And here's the deal: the first one I got was back when I worked at, was it Extra? I think it might have been Extra. And they send you a mold, and you plop some wax in your ear, and then not that kind of wax, but a wax mold, and then you send it to them, and they craft this little piece to match your ear, so it just pops right in. It's great, very comfortable, very easy to hear, and then they just keep that on file.
Right.
So 20 plus years later,
years.
I say, hey, here's my number. They send me another one. So unless I've been in a horrible industrial accident and my ear is no longer the same shape, it just boom pops right in, just like
The most amazing thing. The most amazing thing. I think I had one done, and then after COVID, though, I wanted another one, and by then they had gotten rid of the old one from like 20 years ago. I had to have a mold remade with regard to it. But it's amazing. Can you hear me now? Because now you're in my ear.
Okay, I can hear you. Yeah.
How about the microphone? Because now you're right. It was switched to the
okay. You know how I can tell? Because when you have the laptop microphone up, and people know this who have been like on Zooms or whatever, somebody else talks that doesn't have and it cuts you off because your laptop just shuts down because it's voice attenuated. So it hears another voice and it shuts you off. Now, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I should just leave it so that I can just talk and then you somehow get muted. Curious.
I was wondering all of a sudden as you're saying it, why you're saying it. So we have some rip and reads.
Oh yes, I forgot all about that. Let's do something. Where to go? There we go.
Okay, let's add this to the stage, and this is a picture. It's a historic picture, Innocence Project. I'm going to push you all to read this article because the headline is, in a historic resolution, Tommy Lee Walker is declared innocent 70 years after his execution. Okay, Dallas, Texas, since we're talking about Texas. And this was a young Black man who clearly, at that point, they were looking for somebody, and I won't say the words. Okay.
They were looking for a black man, and they found a black man. Is that what happened?
Yeah, they were looking at, after like turning the town upside down. And this poor gentleman was with his girlfriend who was giving birth at the time. He had an absolute alibi. It didn't matter. It was just a horrible, horrible case. And his son, who was being born at the time he was obviously later on arrested, is in this picture. That's him crying. A generational, you know how we talk now about how you can actually have a generational effect, a generational trauma is what it's called. And it actually comes down to your DNA, they're thinking anymore. And this is the generational trauma. You see his son crying that his father is posthumously being finally declared innocent of the crime. And please all go read the article. You can just Google the Innocence Project. It's on X, it's on Facebook, and it's on their website. And I think it deserves reading. It's a very long article, but deserves what could go wrong in a case when we're talking about these cases. And sometimes we're going to get cavalier. Oh, they're guilty, right? Yeah, that cavalier attitude.
Yeah, and we see 18, 20 years, and that's bad enough. But 70 years after execution,
yikes is right. Okay, just terrible case, but terrible case. But please, if you know anything about us, we'd like you to go look at the articles for yourself and all. And then the second article I have, and I'm going to add this to the stage, is actually I don't have the article, I have the book, but the article is going to be, and let me just take this down for 1 second. Let me see if you can get it here. It's Amanda Knox speaks about being guilty.
Make it a little bit bigger. This will help. There we go. Okay,
Amanda Knox. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
She's on the 11th episode, and I talked about it the other night. Speaks about being guilty until proven innocent on the Martha Moxley podcast final. Now that is Martha Moxley was a young woman who was killed many years ago. Again, my client Michael Skakel was wrongfully convicted of her murder. He was then exonerated after many years, spending many years in jail. I worked on hiring. Actually, I'm the one who traveled around the state to find the attorneys who would take the case that would get him unconvicted, shall we say. All right, proven innocent. Was on the case except for the trial because of certain disagreements that I had with how the case was going to be tried, and I thought that he would get convicted, and no one at that point, you get attached to your main lawyer. I was not lead lawyer at that point. And And so Andrew Goldman, who actually wrote this book, and I know you're not going to die because the book was written with Robert Kennedy, who
Is that,
of
is that bad?
well, a lot of people don't like him because of his
Yeah,
views.
well, get over it.
But you know, we worked very closely with Andrew Goldman, along with a lot of other people, closely with my client, Michael Skakel, who I love, Stephen Skakel, who I adore, his brother, who, if you want a family who's committed to each other in terms of love and all the time and their whole livelihood, and whatever resources they may have had, which wasn't much despite what people tend to think. Okay. He's been on this case, and after he wrote the book, he wanted to do a podcast. Finally, he was able to and he talks about it, about how hard it was to getting one done. NBC partnered with him. It is an award-winning podcast now. It is top of every single podcast, 11 episodes. I'm apparently all the way through it, but I
was going to say, anybody you know on that?
Anybody the star of episode 8. And in this article that Amanda Knox, who was on the last episode, one of the things that's cleared up, they talk about a memo that I wrote that had all this stuff in it that basically he, used as a layout for the podcast, including a blood stain in the house where Martha Moxley's family lived at the time. I'm not going to give it all away because we will have Andrew on the podcast when you are away on assignment.
I will have to listen in.
February 9th. It's either going to be, I believe it's the 10th, the 11th, or the 12th. He has picked a date. I just have to go to my phone and look it up, and I'll have looked at that by the time we are finished or off the air. So again, we're going to spend a whole hour just on this case, okay? Just on this case of somebody wrongfully convicted.
Yep, and that hour is going to fly by. I'm telling you, there's a lot you're going to be cramming into that 1 hour. So I will definitely catch it on the, as they say, replay crew. I will catch it on the plane, perhaps.
Yeah, we're gonna do a lot of things that week that you're gone. Trying things a little bit differently.
There you go.
We will have one guest host and all, but we're going to be trying a couple little things differently. So I hope that everyone stays with me. I know that Madeira Beach Caregiver will. Member for 13 months, just tuning in. Not
a charter member.
A charter member, if they make factual. Hi, Madeira Beach. We have missed you. Thank you very much for tuning back in. We can't wait to talk to you and have you listen to some of the cases. And also, Kyle Sharkey. Hello, everyone. Hi, Missy. I DM'd you. Posted individual walked into the Canton police station on Wednesday, brandishing what was later determined to be a realistic-looking air gun. While okay, Kyle, I am now left hanging. And Jim Robichaud is here, happily.
Hey,
lawyer. Hey, Jim.
He was happily and angrily with us last week.
He was great. He was great. Now, I have to tell you something. After we got off the air, we talked about how Doug Weinstein in the YSL case. Yes. All the stuff thinking, it was a while. Okay. That was his first murder case, and now he's become the king. And he's trying murder cases every week. Guess what? It's Jim's first murder case also. Talk about him.
The same thing, I think you'll agree with me. The same thing I told Doug when we first explored that, because people are like, what? If you're a good lawyer and you're always arguing facts and law, that should translate. It's not like you're a guy doing wills and trusts, not that that's a bad thing, or transactional stuff. If you're a litigator, a trial attorney is a trial attorney is a trial attorney. And you can translate those skills from criminal to civil or civil to criminal. And they've obviously proven that you can do that. One thing good, happily angry lawyer.
Look what he said about himself.
That's right, bankruptcy. Yeah, to me, that's even pushing it, because bankruptcy, you don't do a ton of litigation. You do some. You're in court some. It's a whole different animal of
so Monk's case was his first criminal case. Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And for happily angry lawyer, obviously we announced this yesterday when we were going to see the beginning of the YNW Melly trial. We talked about that with the happily angry lawyer, and now those witness intimidation charges dismissed. So we'll see where that goes. So get ready, January of next year, for the double murder trial that was hung the first time around in 2023. What we thought we would do today, because we're waiting for the jury to come back, is to look at the closings that happened today in the Uvalde case. They went about an hour for the prosecution, and then the defense split theirs in half with the two different attorneys. Attorney LaHood, I've become a big fan. I just think his style is just unique. It's like I have a beer with this guy, hang out, and just talk to him. And that's his rapport with the jury. Not that he's asking them to have a drink with him, but just that it's just a very conversational. Sometimes he pushes it, in my opinion, too, which I love, where he gets a little beyond, conversational. And the prosecution objected a lot today, which is I don't think it's ever a good look. And every single time, the judge, I can't remember if Judge Harrell, he would just give that instruction. Members of the jury, you're reminded that what the attorneys say is not evidence. If there is some confusion between what an attorney says and what you recall, rely on your own recollection, every time. So it doesn't really make the prosecution look all that good. Does it matter at this point? Maybe not. But it is an interesting dynamic, right?
Yeah. Speaking about a rippery, we didn't get to in other news. Mickey Steins is getting a new judge. Wow. Wow. Kyle. Right, thank you. Seriously,
you're busy.
You're bringing all this in here, and we really.
What's the status on that? I haven't looked in a while. What are there any hard dates? If they are, they're going to be changing, maybe.
Well, they're going to be changing with that. It's that case gets stranger and stranger.
Very strange. Yes,
and I'm sure we'll be covering that as we
talking about kids and other issues and things.
And what happened, Kyle, with the man who walked in brandishing the air gun? Anybody we know? Anyone we know?
Yeah. Was it Michael Proctor?
So it was Michael Proctor. And by the way, Michael Bryant here, my co-host who thought who lets me speak. He missed me. I was gone for like 2 weeks out of the 3. He missed me.
It was brutal. Yeah.
I just interrupting him. What was I going to say? I was going to give you a compliment.
Well, I hope you remember what you were going to say then.
Oh my gosh! No, I know what I'm going to say. You were supposed to be in Canton Dedham tonight, and we were going to
tomorrow, heading in there tomorrow,
and then go to Boston to do the show on Friday. It was going to be the recusal motions for Cosgrove and Nathan Carney. And obviously, that's been pushed off. Scheduling issues has nothing to do with anything that we would
nothing substantive, about. Just totally calendaring issues. Right?
Yeah, and they're trying to reschedule it maybe for the 30th. But then the question: can all the attorneys be there, and all? Can the judge be there? Because remember, he sits in Suffolk County now in the Boston courthouse. So they're looking for that. But we will be there unless it's during the week that Michael Bryant is on assignment.
That would be quite the push if they go that far. I guess they could, but that'd be another 2-week push. That'd be
another 2 weeks, but you never know.
And remember, we're only talking about, I keep thinking, you think anything related to Karen Reed, it must be at least 15 attorneys. But you really have Bradel and Betterow, Cosgrove.
And the judge, right? And
the judge, that guy. Yeah. So it's not
the new judge.
And I have a thought. You tell me, because I've done this before. Maybe you've done it too. Before I throw a date out to the court, I've checked with the court clerk, and I want to give them a date. What good does it do anybody to say, here's a date that we love, and then the court, no, I can't help you.
Yeah, no, we're having that issue right now in a case involving about 15 attorneys trying to schedule something, and the court threw out dates, and then dates weren't good for the main person, the client who was going to be out of the country on a business matter that had been long booked, and now everyone's trying to get, is there another date here? And calendaring is very difficult because believe it or not, it's not the only case that we're interested in that lawyers have or judges have. They have a lot of cases.
Of course.
Have a lot of cases.
At a certain point, like with the Karen Reed matter, where they're up to 18 or 19, the court has to just say, look, here are 3 dates, work it out. Yeah. And then, maybe an associate has to cover it, or, the lead attorney can't be there, but maybe it's a lesser discovery issue, so who cares? But yeah, the court does not need to be your calendar clerk as well. They're at a certain point, they say, this is on you guys.
Right.
Be there, suffer the consequences.
Yeah. And Madeira Beach Caregiver, thank you again. Donation.
Thank you, Madeira Beach Caregiver.
Think of how many of the tens of thousands of innocent humans have been banned for years in prison, especially those of non-Caucasian skin color, abhorrent, despicable prosecution. Yeah. It's true, and we tend to forget that. and you have to go back. You have to go back just at the Innocence Project, what they've done with DNA, and that's just DNA. That's not just a normal case. And even yesterday, Michael, we were covering the Timothy Busfield. We were covering. It was just a bail application hearing. We basically heard the defense case, which was great because defendants normally don't do that, or prospective defendants. He's a defendant, but the grand jury hasn't met. And look at how your views change when you can hear good lawyering and evidence.
Yes.
Objectively. Wouldn't that be nice if that happened in every case in the United States?
Yeah, quite often in those bail, pre-detainment, they just go in and they're arguing very basic facts. Well, this was an ugly case. It's a national case. It involves, alleged child abuse. So there's some, as it was stated by his own attorneys, this guy's ruined. His agent dropped him. They sanitized him from a film that's coming out. They digitally removed him because the thing was already done. That's just based on the allegations. So that stink carries into the court, and there is sometimes a presumption that, okay, convince me he shouldn't be in jail versus why he should be. Really burden shifts to the defense, and they rose to the occasion yesterday, and he's out. So
yeah, he's out, and as I told everyone, they have a house in Sullivan County where my husband and I also have a cabin in Sullivan County. I don't know them, but it's a small community, and I know they're very close friends with very close friends of mine. So we'll see where that shakes out as we follow in the future. Oh, Michael Bryant, there is one more rip and read. I know for those of you, and it's not Fashion Friday, but I broke a nail cooking. So I will have to get that fixed over the weekend. And so I'll let you all know, because you all cover my nails more than.
Is that a major operation, getting a nail fixed?
Well, I need.
Are there sedatives
it's
involved?
It's going to be. It's not quite that bad, but I did break it as I was cooking dinner last night. What did we have for dinner, you may ask? We had Icelandic cod, not Greenland cod, just to make a little politics, a little political joke. We had Icelandic cod, yellow squash, and purple cauliflower, just to make it.
How do you prepare that cod? Was that just what? Just braised?
What
was that?
Actually, this time I slow cooked it for very low heat for about 2 hours, and then I put it on the broil at the very end with salt, pepper, olive oil, and lemon juice.
Nice, clean. It's nice and clean. Okay, we'll do a cooking show. That'll be next, and I'll be in charge of sandwiches. That'll be my specialty.
Don't cut your fingers off.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so let's jump into court here.
Okay.
We're going to start with.
Now that we've given a chance for everyone to be here.
Appropriately enough, we'll start with the prosecution. And this is Bill Turner. He's the only one that spoke during the closing. And we won't do his whole thing, but we'll hit some high points here just to give you a sense of his tone, his style, some of the points he thought were important.
If it's appropriate to stand outside hearing 100 shots while children are being slaughtered, that is your decision to tell the state of Texas. And by the same token, if that is not appropriate, that is not how we expect officers that are charged with the duty of protecting children to act, that will also go out from this courtroom. The judge has told you that your oath was to render a true verdict according to the law and according to the facts. He's given you the law, and it is that same law that we discussed in Fort Dyer some 2 weeks ago. You recall we talked about this is a special statute because we're dealing with a special group of people. We're dealing with children under 15 years of age, and so we're expected to act differently when we're talking about children that are frail, can't defend themselves. 15 years old or younger. And in this law, the law of child endangerment, none of us are allowed to endanger a child. None of us can point a gun at a child, put them in danger, put them in harm's way. But there is also the protection that if you have a duty to act, you can't stand by while the child is in imminent danger. If you have a duty to protect the child, you can't stand by and allow it to happen. We talked about the people that have a duty. Parents have a statutory duty, and police officers have a statutory duty. And those two sets of people cannot fail to act when a child is in imminent danger. And so the charge in this case is that these 29 children were in danger. Not just danger, but imminent, immediate, close at hand danger. And that there was a man who had a duty to act, who failed to act. And that failure to act, he was aware or should have been aware that placed those children in danger.
So let me talk to you about this, because I think he's laying it out there right at the top. This is the bottom. This is the basic story here. Good Samaritan, doesn't apply when you have a duty like a cop to intervene and protect, to do something. You or I could sit there in our cars and just, take it all in, or go to Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. Cops don't have that. They have a duty. So we were talking about the translation of criminal to civil, civil to criminal. Perfect example of it here, because what he's describing, even though it's child endangering under the code, it's a negligence analysis, right? Who has a duty? Like, right. We don't have a duty. Cops have a duty. Okay, nobody's going to dispute that. The question becomes, did they breach that duty? Did he not do something that he should have done? I mean, that's the crux of the case. And then if he did, was it the cause of the endangerment to the children? So that's the analysis. Just like civil negligence, it's exactly the same. So I think it's an interesting argument and makes it easy, I think, for folks to grasp. The real question is, who's going to see this as, yeah, he should have done more, and who's going to see this as, there were others too that did nothing, and he did something. He got the kids out of the classroom. He gathered near where they thought the guy was, but if it was not enough, then he's responsible. He breached his duty. And I think that's why I think this jury could go, they're all over, they got to be over all over the map. What are the odds of having 12 people?
So let me ask you this. So I go in the question, I said, well, where does he have, what's his job description? And what is the duties under the job description? And if he didn't do enough, if he did something but not enough, is that a violation of the statute?
Yeah, I mean, the way he's describing it, it is. That would be a breach if he did something, but it was not enough. But what that is going to be subject to each of those jurors' minds, what they think is enough. Him going to the building and hanging out in the corridor while one buddy was shot and other bullets are flying through the wall, but not going in, that was enough. For other people, they're going to say, hell no, that wasn't enough. He should have gone in there. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, he might have gotten hit by a bullet. But dude, if you don't like that job, go get a job as an accountant. That's your job.
But would part of his job being calling for backup because he only has a sidearm? He doesn't have a massive AK weapon that could match the shooter?
I think that's an interesting analysis. I don't know if anybody will go that far. To be honest, in close quarters like that, it's not like the guys at the football field with a high-powered scope and you've got your, Glock. You're in close quarters there. I don't know that the rifle, other than having more rounds and more powerful rounds, is at a total advantage over somebody with a Glock. A gun and a gun in that close quarters, I wouldn't give a lot of credence to. But I only had a gun. I didn't have a rifle. I don't think that doesn't fly for me. Maybe somebody on the jury that it does. I don't know.
I'm just asking. I mean, I don't know.
I think it's a good question. I think these are the things people are talking about. And again, the jury's still deliberating. They've been at about 5 hours now, and I'm guessing they're going to go till 6, but maybe not, maybe longer if they tell the judge that they're close. We'll tell you what we know as we know it. More of this guy now. Again, Bill Turner.
And the person that has a duty to prevent that danger failing to act.
Yeah, I'm just going to object to that. Sorry, at this point, there's concurrent causation is.
Is there any chance, Missy, we can bump that?
Not in the charge.
I'm not discussing that. They just now went through that. Judge did. I just didn't mark it off. I didn't say concurrent cause. I talked about what we talked about in the law that
Okay. All right, I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, I just noticed the clerk brought to my attention, we were working on that charge yesterday. Your date's wrong on that's 21. January 21, the last page. So it says 20, but it's 21.
Yeah, when he read that today, I knew that was the deal. He read
Second
20.
issue is
Read
voluntary.
wrong date.
The defendant must engage in a voluntary act. That's as opposed to an involuntary act. An involuntary act, I believe we talked about during jury selection is, you know, if you stumble and knock somebody over an embankment and they're injured, that wasn't a voluntary act on your part. A gust of wind blows you into somebody. You're not responsible for that kind of conduct. If somebody swerves into oncoming traffic and hurts somebody, that certainly looks like you should be responsible for that conduct. But what if it was the very first time you'd experienced a heart attack and you lost control of the vehicle? That's not a voluntary act. That's an involuntary act. You're not responsible for that. But if you make a decision to seek cover and ask for cover as opposed to going in and stand by while people are being injured and killed, that is the kind of thing that's the voluntary act. It's defined in the state.
Boy, the feed in the
Okay, and
courtroom
as-
is really low.
As Missy indicates, he's a low talker.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to Mr. LaHood. I'm going to, just because the defense did theirs in two parts and Mr. LaHood is so dynamic and speaks loudly, we're going to go to him. But let me do a little more of the prosecution here. Give him a little more equal time.
Another career. Adrian Gonzales is teaching his fellow officers, take your job seriously. It's okay to move aside. It's okay if you're not up to that. Let somebody else step in that is up to it. Because as citizens, we have the right to expect that. When we call for help, we have the right to expect somebody that is put on the badge and put on the gun and put protect and serve on the side of their car will do that when we call. Because if they're not willing to do that, where are you? What are you left with when you're in danger? Who do you call?
Ghostbusters? Oh.
I'm not
So
sure
Adrian
what
Gonzales,
they're,
along with
just
his
stop 1 second before he goes to Gonzales. I haven't understand. I've watched part of the trial. I have this feeling that I don't like scapegoats, but I'm not quite sure what their actual theory is that he should have done more. Just going in and shooting them and shooting this guy, just taking a chance that you get in that classroom and shoot this guy with your gun. I guess that's it, period.
Confront him. And I narrowed it down to that time frame where there were 13 to 15 shots outside when he was outside the building.
Horrible.
He then
Horrible.
goes in.
We heard those shots, by the way, yesterday.
And he heard 7 to 9 additional shots after he went in. I think that's the window of time in which the prosecution needs to convince this jury, if they haven't already, they are deliberating 5+ hours. That's when he should have acted. And doing more meant, hey, maybe you don't just stand in the hallway. And that, I mean, that's the sell.
And call for backup.
And call for backup and call for, whomever's going to come and be the heroes, because I'm not going to be the hero. I need somebody else, SWAT, Border Patrol, BORTAC, I think they were known as. So that's the sell. And I that's why this is very interesting, because I think everybody's going to bring to that box a very different perception. We see in our chat and others, it swings wildly from not guilty, just straight not guilty, to others that should have been blamed, like maybe the captain Arredondo, who is going to go to trial. And
well,
for
all the people we've
reasons.
seen the picture, we've seen all those pictures standing, those cops standing in the hallway, standing in the hallway. They don't get charged. They're all dressed in military suits and all sorts of stuff. And
they look like it, with the rifles. Does anybody not remember the officer that goes over and uses the hand sanitizer that's mounted on the wall?
No, everyone remembers that. I mean, come on,
dude.
Right, dude is right. I mean, I don't even think you can call him dude. That takes away the real dude. That's a reflection of the real dude, but
Like
I don't know.
you're gonna go? I'm not gonna go. You're gonna go? No, I'm not gonna go. I mean,
Either they all get blamed or none of them get blamed.
yeah, and how do you blame all of them? I mean, we've talked about this before. Do you have like 300 and some defendants, or do you? I suggested maybe you have the 10 most culpable. However, you determine that, and a lot of it, to me, has to do with the parents that they're looking for justice here. Is getting this guy going to give them justice? If they do,
not going to give them their kids back. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, nothing is going to do that. But is this guy? And again, I could envision somebody in the jury like, yeah, let's get this guy and then bring on the next one. We're only responsible for this guy, Adrian Gonzales, guilty. Now, next. So that to me is not an unreasonable attitude. Okay, here we go. No more whispering.
We spent a considerable amount of time on was the shot count. The casings along the west side, the casings along the hallway, the casings in 111, the casings in 112. And why did we spend all of the time on that? Because it's the state's position that each shot was noticed to Adrian Gonzales to advance toward the gunfire. Each shot was important to those 19 children and those 10 survivors. Each shot. But the shot count also, as we did that, and obviously if you have this kind of slaughter, there's going to be blood, and we apologize for that. But the blood also tells you a story of children engaged in this, doing as they were trained. To hide in the dark, remain quiet, and wait for the police. Did the defendant have time to act? We brought you videos, the funeral home videos, as well as the hallway videos, as well as dispatch, to tell you what he was aware of, when he was aware of it, and what was going on as he stood outside the fourth grade wing for 3.5 minutes before he made his first move, before he moved forward. We also brought you the defendant's statement. And the defendant's statement, I think, clears up almost the entire case. That is what he told the Texas Rangers shortly after this happened. If you're worried about whether or not he had notice and whether he had time to act and what his decision-making was, listen to these words from Adrian Gonzales. He's over there. He's over there. He's wearing black. I say where? I hear shots going off. Hear sounds coming from behind the building. I get on the radio and say, shots fired at Rob's school, and give the location and where he is. Trying to get from the front of my vehicle to the back of my vehicle. There's only a tree in a building.
It was this exact reason that we did this on Monday. We ran that statement because at that point we weren't sure whether or not he was going to testify, and sure enough he did not. So that's all the jury heard, and now the prosecution, I think rightfully, is relying on that. Because and I suggest anybody who's killing time waiting for a verdict after we're done here, and I, by the way, unconfirmed, I'm seeing some notes that the court has allowed them to deliberate till 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, which is 11 o'clock for us here in the East. That's unconfirmed. I'm not in the courtroom, but I'm seeing some of this surfacing through some different folks who apparently are in the courtroom. So take it for what it's worth. They may get to testify, may get to deliberate longer than, they're coming up on 6 o'clock their time. Yeah. But yeah, take a look at that from Monday where we have that whole interview. It's an hour-long interview with the defendant, and it's the day after the incident, and it is, I think it's as honest as he could be, because I don't think at the time he had a clue where his life was heading. So check that out. Let's do this now. I think we get the basics.
I'll see if we can find that, by the way. Yes, I have the link for that right now.
Look at that. You're fast with that. Look at that.
Okay. And so I'm going to try to post that link in a comment. Take a look
I know
at this.
that was a holiday for a lot of folks, but we did that and check it out because I knew it was going to be critical, and clearly the prosecution thought so as well, in the absence of his testimony, for sure. Okay, so now we have from the defense, again, two different attorneys. They split it right down the middle. They were given roughly an hour each, it seems, so half an hour for each of these two guys. And the prosecution took 1 hour with Mr. Turner. There we go. This is Mr. LaHood. Crazy background with this dude. You know, he used to be the DA. In 22, he was arrested and I think convicted or worked out some deal as a drug dealer. So a convicted drug dealer at age 22, DA at age 42, and now out on his own and very dynamic. So here we go.
An evil act for those children. And it's real. I mean, we're all thinking it. We're not immune from it. Everyone's thinking that. And the issue is that generates emotion. This has been an emotional trial. I can only imagine what it is to the families, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. I know it's been emotional for you. We've been watching you, rightfully so. It's been emotional to you. It's been emotional to us as well. Do you not think that burly man, when he goes home and he gave you that story about his son, that he's not digging his face in his chest, weeping? I have permission to say this because he did. Weeping.
Let me explain that real briefly again. If you didn't see his interview, Adrian Gonzales, the defendant, had a child at the school. So he had a lot going on at that time. And so his attorney is just pointing out that this affects everybody. Do you think he's not, affected by this when he has a kid that was there that day?
Do you not think that Gary, when he's doing FaceTime with his twins, that he stays on a little bit longer or lets them call past their bedtime so he can talk to them, never knowing if that's that last time? Do you not think that Michelle doesn't rush home to go to her granddaughter's games? Because she does. It's emotional for all of us. Or Joseph, and he gets away and disappears at the house that we're staying in because he wants to talk to his children, making sure they're okay. I shared with you in jury selection the journey my parents went on and my family went on with the murder of my brother in our driveway. Do you not think that when I close my eyes that I don't rethink picking up my mom off the ground in our driveway? Loading my brother.
Isn't there an objection here?
Yeah, you're not supposed to do this.
Wash off my brother's blood in our driveway. There's nothing like a mama's cry. Nothing like a mom's cry. You can't explain it. It nothing compares to it. And that's real. We don't ignore that. It's never been us against the family. It's never been Adrian against the family. It's been a pursuit for truth. Remember the totality of the circumstance? It's a pursuit for truth. And because this has been so emotional, the only way that can be dealt with in a justice system is through a jury trial. I love a jury trial. I love the justice system. Thomas Jefferson, as we talked about in jury selection, we talked about Thomas Jefferson. This has a little bit of a delay. I consider trial by jury as the only anchor ever yet imagined by man, by which the government can be held to the principles of its Constitution. One of our founding fathers believed that. I do. In a system of the people, by the people, and for the people, you're the equalizer. You're the one that has the final say. With all due respect to the judge, who I respect very much, not him, not the bailiffs, not the government for sure, not even the defense. It's you. It's the people. That's why I love a jury trial. And it deals with the emotion. It's the only way to balance this emotion and reason. And I say this respectfully as I can. They're trying to hijack your emotion to circumvent your reason. That's what they're trying to do. But they're your emotions, but they're being hijacked. We know that. So how do you deal with that? Because in a world where we don't agree on anything, we definitely don't agree on politics. We don't agree on worldview and religion. We don't agree on definitions. Most people agree, no matter where you're at, most people agree that we don't want innocent people convicted and punished. Most people agree on that. And the only way we do that is through the justice system. And the representative of that is Lady Justice. She represents the justice system, not Lady Liberty, it's Lady Justice. And this comes back from the Greek times, the Roman times, where there was a polytheistic society and there was Greek gods, and she was the god. I don't believe in Greek gods or goddesses, but she was the goddess of order. The justice system is supposed to bring order to a society, and everything means something on this symbol, right? The blindfold means something. She doesn't look at politics. She doesn't look on whether you're a Hindu or Buddhist or Islamic or atheist or agnostic or that I'm a Christian. She doesn't look at any of that stuff. What she does is she tries to get the facts and the law and merge them together to reach this elusive concept called justice. The sword. The sword represents strength. The justice system has to be strong. There's something called the death penalty and life.
Okay, so let me interrupt here just because we're going to move past this. You get the sense that this he puts this into pretty much every closing, right?
Right.
Just the optimism about the system and his he's got some visual aids. Speaking of that, I forgot to ask you. The prosecution uses the old school, butcher paper on the easel. What do you think of that?
I actually like that because I think it makes them look I like the low tech look, okay, of that paper, because people relate to that. They're not relate to the computers and all. I think that sometimes I tend to use the computers, but when I have a witness on the stand, I like to use the old flip charts and all. So I kind of like it. And then in a closing, the prosecutor can do that. If the prosecutor is using it and putting down what a witness, just a little trial advocacy work here. If there's a witness on the stand and you start as an attorney writing down what the witness says, that's objectionable. Most people don't know that because I see, idiot attorneys just letting that go by. But if you use it in a closing, you accuse it. So I kind of like it.
Yeah, I get that. I never could do my own because my writing is horrible. So somebody else would have to write them. What is that? Then
if you have the witness, get off the stand and write it, that's fine.
Oh.
You mark it as an exhibit. You can mark it as the judge say, an illustrative aid. But you as a defense attorney or as a prosecutor, you can't just write down the points and then keep them up there.
This to me is too much, and I'm moving past it.
Okay.
Moving the just the whole arrows to the various parts of Lady Justice and. Okay, I get it. I don't disagree.
We get it. I want to know I want to know, what the prosecution didn't. What he's saying the prosecution didn't prove, because I have to know what the prosecution says is the proof of what Gonzales didn't do to know whether I'm going to find him guilty or not.
Yeah, and we heard
that first.
Even in what we heard from the prosecution, it was here's what he didn't do what he needed to at the point he heard the shots fired. He kind of got to that point.
What was that he needed?
Oh, you mean
to
like
do?
To go toward the shooter. I mean, that was what they believe he should have done, and that's what they told the jury. So now I think they focus on, well, here's what he did.
Prominent dilemma. Let me tell you what my dilemma is. My dilemma is that I'm a passionate person, if you haven't noticed. And my passion, I think, can be a strength, but can also be a weakness. And so I wonder to myself, if I look like I haven't slept, it's because I haven't. Did I do too much? Was I too passionate? Was I too aggressive? Or did I not do enough? Did I not ask the right questions? Should I have gone even harder? And I struggle with that.
Can we stop this for a second?
My dilemma is
sure.
This is a very Texas technique, okay? All right, I've seen it with a lot of Texas attorney, where they bring you in to what the defense attorney's theory is, what they're thinking and all. So they bring you along. Well, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. This is why I got to it. And I've seen this done in a lot of cases that are tried in Texas.
And it's also him saying, I'm just human. I'm wrestling with this. I mean, every attorney feels the same way. When they sit down and they're done, as I say, that's the 8 seconds of calm. That's where you're like, whew, and then for 8 seconds, then you go, shit. Should I have said this? Should I have said that? I went too far here. He's just sharing that with the jury, so they think, oh, this guy's like a normal dude. I don't know if it's effective or not, but that's what he's doing.
Apologize for it. And I won't be fake. And I won't tell you something that I don't believe. I haven't done that since jury selection. I won't start now. And so I can't apologize for it. And because I can't apologize for it, all I can do is ask you for grace. Just extend some grace to me. So if I've done anything, if Jason's done anything, if Gary's done anything to offend you, please, you don't have to now, please hold it against me or Jason or Gary, not against Adrian, okay? So that's what I'm asking you to do for us. And so we have to look at things. What came up during the trial, and at the beginning when I told you, is there was a concept called totality of the circumstances, right? This case, ultimately, We're going to consider everything, allegedly. We want you to consider everything. But this case boils down truly to 1 minute and 48 seconds. Not 3.5 minutes, not 77 minutes, to 1 minute and 48 seconds. And it came up during the trial. And so Jason talked to, how do we know that? I'm not making that up. I'm going to their charging document. I'm going to their instrument that they charged Adrian. It goes up until after the shooter entered the room, 1 to the 112, until the active shooter shot at one child or children in rooms 1. So until it's from when it's from showed up at this,
I don't know what those audio issues are.
And until that shooter goes into those rooms and does what he did to those children. So we have times on that. That's what I'm saying. We have times. We know. Remember this? It's over here, but we took a picture of it. So Adrian parks. It's not contested. Adrian parks at 11:31:55. He parks. We'll talk about what he was responding to and how other people responded and how Adrian responded as he's going to what he thought was the danger. And we'll talk about shots fired. That's true. He calls shots fired because he hears them himself. But he parks at 11:31:55. He's not at 11:31:55 knows what's going on. At 11:31:55, he doesn't have a full concept of what's happening. He just parks at 11:31:55. And the shooter enters the building at 11:32:58. That's 1 minute and 3 seconds. And then some time goes by, 22 seconds later, he's shooting at those doors. And then 20 seconds later, he's in. If you add it all up, it's 1 minute and 48 seconds. That's what their indictment says. It's not 3.5 minutes. It's 1 minute and 48 seconds. Parked, enter the building. That's it. And then there's 22 seconds later, and then he enters again.
Look at that. That's a high-tech use of your handwritten board. He's overlaid it there. Thanks to Defense Diaries, I agree. He is an effective advocate. And what else? Likable. Never underestimate the power of likability.
Somebody in our chat said he's hot.
Well, that's of course what I.
That's
of course what I meant.
I'm going by
typical man.
Heard. They're charging, and no one's making things up on our side. Okay. I don't know what happened there. Give me 1 second.
Uh-oh.
It held down on purpose.
There's a certain adrenaline rush when this happens.
Okay, so here's what the government wants you to compare Adrian's actions to others. So let's do that.
Here we go. All right, stop for a second.
Okay, hold on. Hold the phone.
Hold the phone. I love it when a
Wait, it's not stopping. Why are you not stopping? Sorry, go ahead.
I love it when a defense attorney says the government. I do that all the time. I don't say the state. The government. The government. The
big bad
government. I do that all the time. Excellent. Excellent advocacy there.
Yep. I'm all for that. I'm always fighting big government and big business. Okay, now I'm lost. Where'd I go? Oh, there we go.
And we asked everybody permission. For where you were sitting, Mr. Pena was between you two. And we remember in jury selection, we talked about that. And we got permission from you to be able to ask tough questions, even about sensitive matters. We did. And everyone said yes. So let's compare some actions. We're going to compare the actions of Mendoza, Saucedo, Coronado, and eventually Hill. And yes, they could figure that out during trial. So of course we're going to talk about it. So just to lay that ground, you guys know this already. So here's an aerial view. We can't even see Adrian's car. It's so much to the southeast side. But Coronado, Mendoza, Saucedo are on this side, a little bit outside of it. You've seen this picture multiple times. This is the scene. Here's a better view. We can see Adrian's car way over here. He's driving into the eye of the storm. Many witnesses said that. He drives all the way to the back. And then we have those 3 officers still at the corner. Here's the west door. And here's where the shooter was shooting. We have evidence of that. And then he enters this door at 11:32:48. So let's compare Adrian and Officer Mendoza. Adrian drove into danger. Officer Mendoza stayed away at the perimeter. Adrian had no line of sight, not contested. Christina's not going to come up here and tell you that he had line of sight. Mendoza was the same side. He was on the same side as the shooter. Adrian was alone. Mendoza had backup. Adrian was one of the first 5 in the building. Remember, we're going to talk about that first 5 because Joe Vasquez and others talked about that first 5 and what they did and what they potentially prevented. Mendoza enters the east door at 11, the east door, even though he's on the west side, the east door at 11:42:48. But before that, he drives away, not towards the gunfire. When he's facing the door, when he's looking, when he has backup, and someone has an AR-15, we're going to talk about Saucedo next. He drives away, not towards the gunfire. Remember that pretzel that Jason's talking about? There's one of them. Let's do some more comparisons because they're going to compare Adrian to everybody else. Adrian and Officer Saucedo. Adrian drove into danger. Officer Saucedo stayed away at the perimeter. Adrian, no line of sight. Saucedo saw the shooter, and we're going to look at the video in a second, and asked to shoot. Adrian, alone. Saucedo, God bless you, has backup. Adrian has a handgun only. Saucedo has an AR-15 rifle. Adrian, one of the first 5 in the building. Saucedo never goes in the building.
I'm sorry. This is great advocacy.
Opportunity
This is
and
great
ability to do
advocacy.
something.
It's so easy to follow. It's so clear. It draws the distinction. Obviously, Saucedo is taking the brunt of this argument. But if all of that's been proven at trial, how can you dispute that? How can you say, if nothing else, how can you not sit back and say, well, they got the wrong dude?
Yeah,
You know?
they got the wrong dude. And
Should've got this Saucedo guy.
He's Adrian. It's not Officer Gonzales. He's Adrian.
Yeah. And well, this is something that LaHood does with everybody. He calls everybody by their first name. He mentioned Christine. That's one of the prosecutors. So he calls everybody by their first name. Speaking of first names, hey, Bob and Ali Mata, thank you for popping in and blessing us with your presence. We appreciate it. You guys have followed the case, I'm sure. It is so important on so many levels, as tragic as the story is. Okay, let's see what else we got here.
He doesn't. He never goes in the building. And he also drives away, not towards the gunfire. But let's look at this. This is the dashboard of Coronado. Here's the sergeant. Mendoza's here. They set up perimeter. They're acting as if they're being shot at, but there's no evidence. There's no defects. There's no objective evidence they got shot at. There's Saucedo. There's a long rifle. Watch his behavior. Watch him aim. And watch him do this point. He's there. He's there. There he is. He had aimed him. He saw him pointing at him. He's there. And then they saw him walk into the building, so they leave. We're coming back to this video.
There's no evidence that's a misstatement of the facts, Your Honor.
No, it's not,
And I'm
Judge.
going to object. I want it on the record that he's misstating facts to the jury.
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, what they say in argument's not evidence. If it differs from your own recollection, rely on your own. You may proceed.
It's argument.
Guys, I asked questions. I was very specific about questions.
But they're not saying nice things, Judge. It just sounds whiny.
I gave people opportunities to talk. I wasn't trying to be a bulldog on anybody. Maybe you can think I was on Ranger Hill. We'll talk about that in a second. But we're just asking questions, specific questions, not general ones, okay? Let's talk about Officer Coronado, Sergeant Coronado. Adrian drove into danger. Sarge stayed away at the perimeter. Adrian, no line of sight. Sarge, same side as the shooter. Adrian, alone. Coronado has backup. Adrian, frantic witness he was dealing with. Coronado, frantic witness he was dealing with Claudia. Remember that? We're gonna look at the video again and you'll see it. Adrian, unfortunately, and again, we're not ragging on her, okay? You saw me cross her, but she was wrong, and we'll talk about so many things that she was inaccurate about. A frantic witness that was wrong and inaccurate because she was on the wrong side of this issue. But the frantic witness, Claudia, the sergeant, on the same side, was accurate. Because you know why? Because she said, he went in the building. He went in the building. And you see the video yourself that they're acting like they knew he went in the building. Because you don't go from this, thinking you're being shot at, to this unless you know that the danger is gone and they're in the building. You saw the video yourself, and we're going to watch it again. Sergeant Coronado unfortunately drives away, not towards the gunfire. So now we're gonna watch it again, but now we're gonna focus on Sergeant Coronado, okay? This is him again. We already looked at Saucedo's behavior. Look who he's talking to. He's yelling at somebody, and that's Claudia. You go inside, okay, what? They're talking. She testified. I told them he went in the building. And guess what? He acts like he knew he went in the building. Because you don't go from ducking like that to watch his car drive off. Watch all of them. They all know he went in the building. They don't believe what they're trying to prosecute. There's no way. Our defense is not, well, if you're going to prosecute Adrian, prosecute other people. They don't believe it themselves. You can't. I'm going to go through a list in a little while of all the things that they're going to have to, Christina, with all due respect, is going to have to come up here and tell you to ignore to get to the man at the bottom of the totem pole. I'm going to show you that list, and I'll be right. With humbly, but I'll be right. Where's Randy Hill? I know it bothers them because he's the one dispatched. Why didn't they call him? Why didn't they call Saucedo? So we can ask them questions and bring you answers. The government has all the resources, all the rangers, this whole road. They have the whole government of Texas and all the resources to bring you evidence. And we expect that of them. Where's Randy Hill? Where's Mendoza? Where's Saucedo? None of them. The only reason why they brought Coronado is because they wanted that video in. He's dispatched at 11:29:36, 3 minutes before the shooter enters into the building. What was 911 told? That is another aspect of the bill, and Bill's right. I mean, he could hear. He's an intelligent man, and tremendous respect for him. But he heard our questions. I mean, that's a factor. We're looking at the totality. What were they told? What information did they all have? Someone shooting a gun. This is what Mr. Limon has told dispatch. They just shot at us. He's shooting at the school. That wasn't relayed to anybody. He's jumping into the schoolyard. Wasn't relayed to anybody. He's just jumped over the fence. Still wasn't relayed to anybody. He's running towards the school. Nobody knew that, but that nobody knew that includes Adrian. That includes Adrian. He's wearing black. No one knew that. That would have been helpful to know. But we know for sure, and I know Ranger Hill's here. He can come sit right here if he wants to. I asked him, you don't know. I know when he showed up on the scene. You do? It wasn't in your critical timeline. Well, it's in a different timeline that he gave to them, didn't give to us. Interesting. But so in his critical timeline that he didn't review for 3 years before he sat in front of you and testified to this, he said that that's all that's in his critical timeline, not when Randy Hill supposedly showed up, because Randy Hill didn't check in at location. Let me know what's going on. Nothing. No communication. So all we have in the first critical timeline is this. Randy Hill at 11:33:32. Just standing there. Said, did you hear how difficult it was for him to try to make up an excuse for what Randy Hill's behavior was? Did you hear how difficult it was? Because you couldn't objectively do it. Not based on Nico standards or Jason standards, just training standards, tactics. I asked him tactical questions. How does this make sense? Well, he was just there momentarily. Where's that? I don't understand where you're getting this from. What we know for sure is that Sergeant Coronado is driving around the school, and there's Randy Hill. He's already out of his car. He's been there for a little while. I don't know how much it is. The ranger thought he knew. I don't know how. But there he is, setting up perimeter when nobody's asked him to set up perimeter. Oh, they said there's a dispatch, again, that we didn't get from an unknown person. Remember that exchange? Figure it out.
Again, Jack, this is misleading the jury, and he's having them believe that we did not turn over everything to him. And it's
Okay. Well,
Remember that exchange?
Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. We're not going to be able to listen to his entire spiel, but I think people get the drift. I mean, the jury, I'd love to be, I say this all the time, I'd love to be in the jury room as they deliberate and what they focus on. Are they going to look at this and say, man, this whole operation was a cluster bleep? Nobody knew what the hell they were doing. And one guy was worse than the other guy. And the guy sitting here was bad, but not as bad as some of these other people. So what do we do with that? Do we find him guilty and then hope they bring the others to justice? Or do we say, he wasn't as bad as the others, let him off the hook.
I'm torn on this in this regard. I think that he is a scapegoat. Yes, he's the resource officer. He's the first officer on the scene, but he's the less equipped. He does do things. He talks to people. He tries to get the kids out of the classroom, right? He doesn't go, and everyone else is out there sitting these long guns, stand behind cars because they think they're being shot at. They don't shoot at anybody. They don't storm the building. And I can't get out of my mind, and I know that jury can't get out of my mind either. The picture of them all standing in the hallway. Let me la-di-da-di-la-di-da-di-la. So they're la-di-da-di-la-di-da-di-la, and they're just blaming this guy? Come on. I mean, I'm for equal justice here. I think what the response was absolutely outrageous, but I'm not sure you can make a scapegoat of this guy unless you quite frankly indict them all and bring them all to justice at the same time.
Yeah, I just think this guy may have done less than he needed to do, but by comparison, he did more than plenty of guys. And I just don't know what a jury does with that. That's what makes this case kind of interesting and a head scratcher. I'd love to talk to somebody afterwards to hear what they've been talking about. Again, we're seeing more and more notes suggesting that they're taking a bit of a break. Maybe they're getting dinner, that the court said they can stick around and deliberate as late as 10 o'clock local time. That's
and they may have said they're making progress too.
They may have.
They want to stay there. I mean, I'm sure that this is one thing we don't talk about is the tragedy for a jury here. I mean, this is the pictures they saw and what they've seen and what they've been through. I'm sure they want to get home. They want to get home to the.
They're over this. Oh yeah.
Right.
As LaHood said, even in his opening, he said, "You won't be the same. After this case, you'll be changed because they saw many of the things that nobody else was allowed to see. Thank goodness. And how could you not be changed? How could you not be affected, especially if you're a parent?" So, we've had this before where the judge, depends on where they are. A lot of places, like Boston or Norfolk County, hey, everybody's off the clock at 5, so get the hell out of here. On the other hand, when OJ was tried and I was out in Vegas, it was, like Vegas is a 24-hour town, even in the court system. So at 11 o'clock, we're sitting there getting the verdict in OJ. So it definitely varies. And so apparently here in Texas, at least in Corpus Christi, where this judge sits, you want to stay till 10, folks, knock yourself out. Maybe it's because they're making progress. Maybe it's because they said, we think it'll be worth our time. They do a sleep on it, right? Come back tomorrow morning.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to come back on the air, Madeira Beach caregiver. I think that we will take the verdict. We will record it. We will talk about it tomorrow night. And by then we may have some jury people that are on the jury.
We might have some jury react. We might have some parent react.
And all that we can put it all in context here. And maybe also, if we have that kind of reaction, we can go back and see where in the evidence may have led to the verdict, whether it's guilty, whether it's not guilty, whether it's hung.
Yeah.
And again, I asked that question. I asked the question: is there something well, this goes both ways. Did he do something that would have prevented? Could he have done something that the kids who were killed from being killed? But that goes both ways. And did he do something that caused the kids who were not killed from being alive? I mean,
yeah. And well, we talked about too how if you're trying to parse it out that way, how do we know when the 19th child died or the 18th child? Or I mean, the medical examiner can give you certain information. I'm sure certain wounds made death instant. They could probably narrow that down. But I'm sure there were many that were on the fringe. And had they acted sooner, maybe the death count was 14 or 12, and the others were wounded survivors. To me, that's got to be a discussion.
And what was the protocol of the police? Was the protocol that the resource officer calls for backup, period, okay, and then big guns come in? What was the protocol in dealing with a school shooter situation? All right. That's what I want to know if I were on that jury. Was the protocol
talked about training? They talked about training and how much of it.
How much training can you have for the? I mean, you have a lot, but
it's not real. These aren't guys coming back from a tour of Vietnam where they've seen action every single day and they're kind of used to it. This had to be a crap your pants day for all of these guys. They're in this little teeny town. They don't have those kinds of problems.
The school, right? He went into the school.
He went in while others drove off.
Yeah. I think that when you have that, I can't find him guilty without finding everybody else on trial guilty. I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm sitting there on the overall, but by the same token, I'm looking at all those dead kids,
Yeah.
and that's another issue about whether they needed to put in all those pictures and all the blood for, because that's not the issue. I mean, this is almost like a negligence case they're trying, a civil negligence case, right?
And the testimony of one of the treating doctors who testified about each of the 10 kids who were wounded, and talked about each of those wounds and the shrapnel and where it hit and what, just brutal. I would not have a problem with a jury member arguing that, look, he may have been better than others, but he still breached that duty. He's guilty. Let's get the others in here, even though this jury has no control over that. That to me would not be an unreasonable position.
Yeah, they could do that because they don't know what's coming next, except they're in the community. They have to know the chief, right? The head honcho is going to be on trial.
You would think, again, they moved it to Corpus Christi for that reason. They're 200 miles away from the scene. So maybe that sanitized the pool enough that they don't know about the chief or potential other problems. But if I'm watching this, my first thought is, well, when is Ceseda going on trial? When is Mendoza going on trial?
Right.
All these other people named that had done far less than the defendant. When are they going on trial? May not be my concern, but it's in my head.
I'm going to pull this comment out, even though it wasn't starred, because the cross-examination, I thought the cross of the police expert was, I thought that the police expert for the prosecution really got destroyed, quite frankly. And then I'm going to pull this out too, because you've all been watching it, compared to the mother who jumped the fence and went to rescue her children and many others. And then they would try to stop right? They tried to stop the parents from going in.
Well, of course.
You couldn't stop me from going in as a parent, no matter what, and neither would you.
No,
but you'd be going in with your guns.
but
You'd be going in with your guns. Me, I'd be going in with
it's
my
easy for
nails.
us to sit here, obviously, and put ourselves in that scenario and say, I would have done this. I don't know what I would have done. I hope that I would have had the balls to go in knowing my child or others were in there. I hope I would have that. I don't know. But I know I didn't have and never would have a duty to do it. I would just do it.
Scott McGinnis is in. Scott, you have law enforcement training. Guilty or not guilty? Scott, weigh in. Single officer entering the school. Hold on. Single officer entering the school without backup, tactical support, with only a sidearm, may be brave, but tactically stupid. Probably doesn't end well against a motivated shooter with a long gun.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
That's reasonable, right?
Is the jury going to give him a break for that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, it just reinforces there were others there better equipped to do what he didn't do. Why are they not sitting there? Okay.
Tough case.
Yeah.
And I don't like the prosecutor objecting all the time. Oh, that's not what we proved, Your Honor. We had this evidence. She's arguing her case.
Yeah, she is. She's trying to relitigate, whatever happened during the course of the trial. Sit down, please. You're not helping yourself. It's too late. Let the guy finish. Let the jury absorb whatever they want. They were here for the trial too. You got to give the jury some credit. They aren't idiots. It's not like they're going to say, oh, that's right. He didn't tell us that before. This is the exact opposite. I'm going with his story. And they're not going to do that. They're going to discount it if they don't believe it, unfolded for them in front of the court. So, okay. Well, one way or the other, I do believe we'll have a verdict tomorrow. I don't know, even, we could see an Allen charge or something. We don't know. When it starts, the longer it gets, obviously, the more likely somebody's hung up on something.
Yep.
So
we
shall see. Where are they now? About 6 hours, something like that? That sounds about right. 6 hours. And again, I'm hearing that they're taking a lunch break, a dinner break, a supper break.
Yeah.
So, and maybe they've gotten a decision and they're having a leisurely meal and they're going to come back after that. But whenever it is, we will ultimately get into it tomorrow night, night show. So
tomorrow night on Thursday show, yeah. And there's other cases going on next week. We are hoping to try to get down to Monmouth County.
Yes,
for the Camaro case.
I need to get down there and to wake up the jury. I need to get down there. Just nudge them. Wake up! Today they had a guy on there talking about he was a trust attorney. Oh, I'm sorry, but criminal attorney, civil litigation, mass tort, wills and trusts. I mean, it's whoo.
But it was actually
it's a money case, but
it's an important case. I mean, it's
a
slaughter of a family in the quick.
I'm only thinking about the jury and how it's being presented to them. It is the most outrageous case presented in the most mundane way that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And the defense, they got some issues. So we should get down there and just, I got to see.
I know you want to go to the scenes, right? Penny Barter, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Al and I have actually discussed possibly being on the same side of the case, but it didn't work out. We didn't get hired. It'd be two different people on the same side of the case, just so you know, Miss Penny. So maybe you're reading my mind. Thank you very much.
Do we have a couple of others we haven't? I want to make sure we get to all of them that you need to get to.
Well, I'm looking at our chat. I think that we're seeing a division in our chat. You know, we're not trying the case, but
no, that's as I said. I've seen on our chat and on some of the others I've watched the trial. Yeah. There is a definite split. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
And the split doesn't come over it really doesn't come over or come to what he did or didn't do. It comes to the fact that how could you hold him responsible and not everybody else who was there who was sitting outside, you know, like I mean, hand sanitizer. Here's a Twizzler, okay? Let me just sit outside and chew on a Twizzler.
I love Twizzlers. Can I get one of those? I don't have a Twizzler budget here.
Yeah, but sitting outside, you know, and run away when there's shots. And then they all have all sorts of misinformation. Yeah. And that's why the chief is going to be going on trial as to the protocols weren't right and that type of stuff. But I don't know how you hold Gonzales. If he followed whatever protocol he followed and did what he was supposed to do. And even if he saved, did he save one person?
I don't think he saved. Well, you know, only maybe his one of his cops got shot in the leg. He helped him go outside, and you know, when they called the SWAT and got him situated. But no, I don't think he saved anybody that was on the brink. One of the children. No, it was after he was helping the live ones from other classrooms get out through broken windows. But again, I just get to that point where I'm like, okay, he wasn't the worst, but was he really meeting his duty? You know, I'm not going to can I let him off the hook because others were worse?
Well, I'm letting off the hook if he gets people out of the classrooms through the broken windows. That's why I'm letting off, because he's doing something and he's thinking the big guns are behind him and the big guns are doing nothing. Okay. Nothing. No, it was outrageous. It's all outrageous, but I'm not sure that Adrian Gonzales should be the fall guy.
Yep. I tend to agree, and I'm sure that's the battle they're having in that deliberations room. So we'll be back at it tomorrow. We hope you will join. What else do they need to do? Like, subscribe, share, comment, and what's the hype thing again? How does that work?
Notify. Hit the notify so you get notified. The hype is just to tell everyone about this. That you comment.
Oh, so it's a comment or it's a share.
And then you can comment after the show too to get us in that algorithm. Okay. And I'm sure no matter what the verdict is, or if there is no verdict, we're going to have the same discussion tomorrow night.
Yeah, you're right. No matter what the verdict, yes or no. It may not be one. I'm thinking a hung jury wouldn't surprise me either. So, all right then. Hey, everybody, have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Please try to do the right thing.